My husband, Matt, is a travel nurse anesthetist, and he enjoys teaching also. This past February, when we were in Texas, he volunteered to be a provisional instructor at a continuing education course. It went well, and on March 7th, he got a text message that said something like, "Hey, Matt, we need an instructor for a weekend in April in California for an anesthesia school. I need your help if you think you can make it." Matt forwarded me the text, and I immediately thought about logistics for a bit. Then I said, "Sure, do it. If my mom will keep the kids, I'll come too." I called my mom up and said, "Hey, Mom, Matt's going to California for a weekend, and I'd like to go with him. Would you keep the kids for us?" She said, "Sure. Why are y'all going to California?" So I explained that Matt was invited to be an instructor at an essential nerve blocks and POCUS course put on by Maverick Medical Education for an anesthesia school in California. And POCUS stands for Point of Care Ultrasound, for those of you who don't know. Anyhow, April came around, and I drove the kids and our dog from Texas to Mississippi. I flew out of the Memphis airport and met Matt at the DFW airport, and then we flew to LAX, and we had our first date night in quite a while. In the airplane, we watched Psych 3 together. After we landed, we met up with a couple of other instructors and caught the bus to the car rental place. On the way there, the guys were talking about setting up the cadaver parts. I was asked if I'd seen the setup video. I said yes, I did. It was certainly something. I was then invited to check out the class. I politely declined because I had plans to explore the area. There was what appeared to be a mother and her teen son sitting near us. I can only imagine what in the world they were thinking about while we were discussing cadaver parts. Anyway, we made it to the hotel, and the next morning Matt carpooled to the anesthesia school, and I headed out on my first adventure. But not without a little bit of an issue. I started my adventure at a metro station. I had already downloaded the TAP Metro LA app, and I had money on it, but I couldn't get the app to pay when I placed it on the TAP terminal. I finally read some reviews of the app where someone explained that he had the same issue and had figured out that the NFC button on your phone has to be turned on in your settings for the app to be able to work at the TAP terminals. That is something LA Metro should really put in their instructions on how to use the app. Anyhow, we were staying in Arcadia, but I really wanted to see the iconic Santa Monica Pier and 3rd Street Promenade. So 3 trains, and 2 hours later, I did. Check it out. told me the first day of the course went great. We went out to eat with his colleagues, and I really enjoyed that. Matt and I are really glad that LA County recently began allowing unvaccinated folks to eat indoors at restaurants again. Otherwise, we would have likely just been eating in our hotel room. Anyhow, the next morning, I decided to walk to the LA County Arboretum. I walked through a lovely neighborhood and ended up counting 25 peacocks in that residential neighborhood. I thought it was a bit odd, but I did make it to the Arboretum, and I found out that they were basically free-range peacocks that were supposed to live there at the Arboretum. I walked around and thoroughly enjoyed the rose show, the rose gardens, and all of the beautiful plants at the Arboretum. It was a really nice place to visit. It even had a waterfall. Take a look. After visiting the Arboretum, myself, Matt, and two of his colleagues ate at the Derby in Arcadia. I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. One of Matt's colleagues was a pioneer in the sonography field, and I loved hearing her professional and personal story. The food was delicious there. The Derby salad was the best salad I've ever had, and Matt enjoyed his meal also. The little turtle necklace was a souvenir I chose to get for our kids. They each got a different color. I mean, we went to California without them, so I figured we should get them something really cool as a souvenir. Anyway, in closing, I just want to say that Matt and I did follow the protocol that LA County requires for visiting, which was filling out their travel form online and following the CDC travel recommendations. We both took our first ever COVID test a couple of days before our trip, as recommended for non-vaccinated folks flying domestically. Then we took our second COVID test while in California, and all the tests were negative, so we were free to travel to LA County. This trip was definitely worthwhile. Matt really enjoyed instructing. This block course is very unique because cadaver limbs are used so that nerve blocks can be stimulated. If you're a CRNA, be sure to check out what courses Maverick Medical Education offers, and I will include a link to their website in the description of this video. Many of the offerings include online learning and then in-person labs, and some of the labs use pulsatile cadavers. If you're an anesthesia school program director, you can get in touch with Maverick Medical Education to see about setting up a course like Essential Nerve Blocks and POCUS course for your students. This course is particularly useful if your clinical sites have limited opportunities for nerve block practice. And I'm just going to close and say, if you enjoy this video, please like and subscribe to my channel to be notified when another video is available.